You know what I would recommend? A drinking game during Silent Hill Revelation.
Correction, Silent Hill Revelation 3D!
You broke our mic. Every single time you go, holy shit, that shot was made for 3D, you gotta take a shot.
Yeah, I regret not doing that.
Yep.
That would have been great.
Well,
we would have to have delayed recording.
You need to drive somewhere later, so it's a good thing you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's long delayed sequel to the first movie that has basically no behind-the-scenes connections.
Kinda?
I said behind the scenes, so behind the camera stuff. In front of the camera, it features,
Sean Bean.
Yeah, Sean Bean, and then,
that's it.
the lady who played Rose for, 5 minutes.
A second.
One scene. It follows the girl in,
The daughter.
in, 10 years.
From the first movie.
Yeah, and she's having spooky dreams.
She's been recast.
Yes, she somehow made it out because the mom found a tear and shoved her out and is like, only one of us can go by. So that happened. She's going to high school and she doesn't fit in and is awkward and she's getting spied on.
Jon Snow is there.
Yeah. It's just the fact that there's two Game of Thrones alumni at the same time, as when Game of Thrones started, is just very funny. Anyways, the cult wants her back because they want to be free, so they have to. She needs to kill the bad version of herself and whatever.
Yeah. This plot didn't make any sense.
It was really dumb.
I'm glad you can shit out a plot summary.
Yeah, so they go back to Silent Hill, even though her dad has spent the past 10 years being like, do not go back to Silent Hill. Silent Hill does not exist.
But I'm dreaming about Silent Hill.
It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. We got in a car accident. That's all that happened.
It's not real. Don't go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she gets told by her new bestie, who turns out to be a turncoat from the bad guys, to not also go to Silent Hill because that would be bad, because he's like, actually, I love you and I think that you're okay. So I think that you should not go there. And she's like, but I gotta save my dad. My dad got kidnapped. I must find him. And then they go to the Silent Hill and then they do spooky shit and some gory shit. And
that's where they meet Trinity.
Yeah.
And the dickhead from Clockwork Orange. And they have a couple of boss fights.
It definitely were a couple of boss fights. It felt more like a video game. I'll give it that. That's not really a positive, but it did feel more like a video game. Yeah.
Yeah, the story was incoherent.
Yeah, sometimes it would get really close to making sense, and then some other detail gets thrown in and it's like, what the fuck? And that was very distracting for me, again, because I hate it when stories don't make fucking sense.
I love that head twitch you have when something doesn't make sense. You're not autistic.
No, I'm not. I am the socially well-adjusted version of myself with my glasses and my side part, okay?
If you had hair.
Fuck you.
There's a lot of star power in here for what is a really terrible, awful movie.
Yeah.
It's surprising.
I think the majority of them understood the movie they were in, though, because they're just either hamming it in, they're either phoning it in or hamming it the fuck up.
Yeah, and sometimes they would swap in between, just because they could.
Yeah, a lot of accents getting slipped through.
Yep. They literally just shrug on screen and go, fuck it. I'm not doing another take, sue me.
Pretty much. Yeah, this one looks like shit. The first one looked a little rough, but it also felt a lot more of the time that it was from, and a lot of those effects aged pretty well.
The first one had a lot of care.
Yeah, the first one had a style to it.
This one was the adopted grandchild that was locked under the stairs.
Yeah, this one's very... I kept saying it during the movie. It's really, really Hellraiser infused.
Yes.
I don't play the Silent Hill games yet. Now I will, now that I've ruined them for my...
Good luck. Try running that on modern hardware.
I will figure it out. They're making a remake. Come on. And it looks good.
Made by Bloober Team, and I really want to like them. I hope it's good.
Yeah. yeah, it's just the scene.
Hellraiser.
Yeah, it feels like they watched one Hellraiser movie and they're like, oh, we can do that. And
body horror?
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that.
like, there is body horror in the first one, and as far as I'm aware, in the games, but it's just done so differently here. It's a lot more.
So this one is grislier, I guess. Like, you watch. Content warning, I guess. You watch someone's beer belly get sliced off while they're alive, and then the slab of belly gets thrown in a hot pan and is like cooked up, and like monsters near the end have saw blades sticking out of their heads for no reason but to just be grisly, and that's not how the Silent Hill franchise usually works. There was also like a lot of hooks in skin and pulling on skin. Like, that's so Hellraiser. But Silent Hill is a lot more subtle. It's like you'll round a corner and all of a sudden there's a monster there that's like a nightmare version, like a body that's like legs like a normal human and then legs on top, and it's like, it doesn't make sense, but it's a nightmare version that could make sense in a nightmare. It's like a dream version.
Yeah.
And like, you can picture a monstrosity like that moving around, and yeah, it's technically body horror, but it's just different.
It's different, yeah. And there were some bits that like were not really effective, but like they just didn't commit to the bit hard enough, honestly. Like, if you were gonna do that and have a big tonal shift, this movie did not linger on that enough. It didn't milk it. It didn't feel. If you want to do torture porn, do torture porn. It like, every time there'd be like a halfway decent kill or like some blood on screen, I'm like, oh, they cut away from it already. And like, it's really weird because like, I don't know.
A lot of Silent Hill, a lot of the horror is supposed to be based on like trauma that the main character has, and they're trying to sort through it in their mind and in their nightmares. That's basically Silent Hill. But a lot of this movie, the monsters are just monsters.
Yeah.
They're just there to scare you. None of it makes any sense.
Yeah, some of them admittedly do look kind of cool. Some of the prosthetics I thought were pretty solid, and then when it switches over to CG, it looks like dog shit.
Near the end of the movie, somebody is like, calls this place hell or whatever, and that's not really what Silent Hill is. Silent Hill is a nightmare. It's not purgatory or whatever. Yeah,
it's just weird. Yeah, it feels off. Like, more than any story criticisms or anything like that. Like, visually speaking, even when there is something kind of interesting going on screen, something feels off. Like, they're not using the camera right, or the it's getting cut. Like, the edits are weird or something. The whole movie just feels off, and that's like the bad movie feel, I guess. There wasn't. I'm trying to think of something nice to say. I said some of the prosthetics were nice. There were a couple. There was like 2 scares that were like, that was okay.
There were a couple of musical motifs that weren't the original video games theme song.
Yeah, but only a couple. Almost the entire soundtrack is just like looping the theme song the whole time, which is really annoying because I really like that theme.
It felt like a placeholder most of the time.
It probably was. That actually does happen a lot. Like, when a composer especially for movies. Yep. Good example.
The Hobbit.
No, actually.
When they throw in the wrong one or whatever.
No, that was an intentional mistake because they didn't have time. No, good example. Michael Giacchino scored Star Trek 09 and Doctor Strange from 2016. Mm-hmm. The theme songs are nearly identical. They're just instrumented differently. Oof. So I actually really like both of them. But the reason why that usually happens is when so if you get hired on to do a thing, like during, like, while the movie's being edited, if you haven't already composed the music beforehand or whatever, usually you'll put on like a, say you're making Troy, the movie, from 20 whatever the fuck, the Troy,
with Russell Crowe.
No, that's Gladiator.
Oh,
but whatever. You're making a fucking Swords and Saddles movie, so you put on like a temp track in the background of Gladiator or whatever, something similar that you think will get your mind working in the right direction.
Conan the Barbarian.
Right, something like that. This is a very common practice. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very normal. And a lot of composers do it with their own music. And he 100% did that, like, a little too much on that one.
Oops.
Good, like, yeah, oops. It's just, like, yeah. Fun musical fact that I have, actually, I guess. I'm very proud of the fact that I know that. I don't know. But yeah, it's just looping all the time with, like, no pacing. Also, the pacing was fucking horrid.
Yes.
It's not even just in the editing. Like, the scare sequences were all over the place. The jump scares were different. The monster fights were different. It didn't feel like, dream logic. It just felt like fucking lazy. We just kind of threw some shit in the blender, and like one strawberry remained intact, and that's okay. I like the fact that Pyramid Head actually does something in this movie and is explained, because he's the protector of Alyssa, or whatever the fuck, the bad demon child.
They certainly tried.
They certainly tried to actually explain that. He's like
instead of just like
he's just here.
He shows up to sell tickets.
Yeah. So I like that. That was neat, and he got to do the final boss fight, which lasted about 2 minutes, which was choreographed horribly. Yeah, I
just rearranged my list so that this isn't in the bottom 5, but it's in the bottom 6.
Please hold.
2 stars.
That's higher than I'm giving it.
I think I've rated the other ones too high, but
maybe. I gave the first one 3 out of 5.
My bottom 5 are pretty rough.
My bottom 5 currently is Rampage, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City.
Oh no, this is for the year, not video game movies.
Yeah. And then, well, I'm just gonna finish my thought then. Fuck you. The Angry Birds movie, Monster Hunter, and Uncharted. This is in the bottom 3.
Wow.
This is going after. I would rather watch the Angry Birds movie, because at least when they make really bad, stupid fart jokes, maybe I'll laugh.
And it looks better.
Yeah.
It wasn't filmed in 3D.
Yeah, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spots below the first one, which is my number 11 for video game movies so far. So
the definition of mid.
The definition of mid positive.
Wow.
Yeah, that was rough, man. But good thing I'm not angry about it.
It was free.
Rampage made me angry because it was so bad. This did not make me angry, and I'm gonna forget about it in about 2 days.
I'm so glad I was drunk during Rampage. I don't remember a single thing. I remember, like, making my own drinking game of, like, maybe if I drink more, I won't remember this. And it worked! I won! I won in the end.